EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Another day, another episode of Birds 365. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Yeah, I see we're a little bit late. That's my fault. I see a lot of the dicks are being dicks. Boy, man, you give people 5 minutes to be a dick, and they're all over it. So, but we're
5
here.
minutes is generous, John. You give people 30 seconds to be a dick, and they'll
Jesus, gee. I mean, there are some awful people in the world, but hey, they take what they have. You know, you got a bad life if 30 seconds in you're complaining and you're trolling, scumbag trolling. Give them 30 seconds.
Shots fired at some of you knuckleheads in the chat. Johnny Mac, great stuff. We got plenty to talk about here today on Birds 365, but we got to start it off with the NBA draft. No, I know everybody's going to be, oh my God, it's an Eagles show. Why would you start? Sixers take VJ Edgecombe, John. What do you think? The NBA's next two-way star? What do you think of the play?
You know, my belief on the Sixers organization, I think, is pretty well known. So I never default to, hey, they made a good decision. But you know, I clearly Ace Belly didn't want to play for him. So for whatever reason, whatever reason you want to go down, whether he's a narcissist and he's got to be the star right away, or he just doesn't want to play because it's a bad organization, he doesn't want to be involved with Joel Embiid, which, by the way, I don't blame him. Whatever the reason, he didn't want to play here. So what are you going to do? I mean, you know, if you're Eagles fans, and most of the people here are Eagles fans, you should know by now what chemistry means to a team. You don't want to hold somebody hostage who doesn't want to be here. So I mean, and the easiest way to stop that is to be successful again, like the Eagles, and then everybody wants to come there. And if it ever happens to the Sixers, the same thing will happen. But it's hard to imagine that. So understanding, you know, the kid with the bigger upside didn't want to be here, and it was very clear. He, you know, behind the scenes, he was instructing his people to steer away from Philadelphia at all costs. I think they made the right decision. You know, and that's what the modern NBA is. I don't really care about three guards. Like, that's old school thinking. It's positional as basketball. You just saw it with Oklahoma City and Indiana. You need wing players who can defend and are athletic and shoot the three. And that's what he does. So, you know, and in theory, from just the little snippets you heard of him talking last night, he's also, you know, he's not a narcissist. He seems willing to learn and develop and doesn't need to come in and be the centerpiece of everything in the world. So I think he'll be a good teammate. But again, you have to develop them. You don't draft great players. Sometimes you do, but guys have to develop, and the Sixers haven't been great at developing players. And when they have, it's been, you know, sort of by luck more than design. But I've already heard some of the names, the comps thrown out there. And you know, to Jay Billis's credit, you know, when guys like that comp, they're comping traits. They're not comping results. Right. And he threw out names like Dwayne Wade. I'm like, and that, you know, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll take that. That's probably unrealistic.
That's unrealistic.
And then, you know, I broke a cardinal rule, Zander Krause. So I'm going to make a confession. I rarely listen to Philadelphia sports radio, but I wanted to hear a little bit of the thought process. And I'm not going to say which station, what station. And they bring up the Wade stuff, and then they're debating back and forth. And at least to their credit, they said, well, he's probably not going to be Wade. So how about Joe Dumars? He's also a Hall of Fame player for people that, you know, don't know basketball existed before 5 years ago. I'm like, wow, yeah. Let's let's put these expectations on the kid day one. But I think it was a smart decision by the Sixers as best you could be. And it's not the year where you're going to have and that's the problem with the Sixers. And that's been the problem with the Sixers. Their whole philosophy. And you could argue it was correct when they started the process, where it was everybody was trying to build the super teams. Nobody's trying to do that anymore. They're behind the curve. And they're still trying to build a super team with a 31-year-old guy who's never played more than 60 games in his life coming off another injury. And the whole mentality of the Sixers is, well, Tatum's hurt. He's out for the year. Halliburton's hurt. So the Celtics are not relevant. The Pacers are not relevant. This is our chance to run it back with these, corpses and hope things work. And it's probably not going to work.
Yeah,
but
if I had to make a bet, Johnny Mac, I'm going to say it's not going to work this year.
Yeah, they needed to get younger. Well, the Embiid stuff kills me. I mean, he's again. This has nothing to do with his traits, nothing to do with his traits or his abilities, which are unbelievable for his size and you've never seen that kind of skill from a guy that big before. But again, he's 31 years old, coming off another serious knee injury. And his high watermark in games played was 68 and 21-22. That's your high watermark when he was healthier and younger. I mean, talk about people in toxic relationships and stick with them and they got to get out of them. That's the Sixers and Joel Embiid. And, it might hurt when you see your significant other with a new person, but, deep down, hey, that new person's screwed. So take solace in that. But they refuse to give up. And, because they don't have any other options. They don't have creativity. They don't believe in themselves. They can't develop. They know that.
Polar opposite of the Eagles. It's funny.
Exactly. And Eagles fans should know that better than anybody, especially because we'll probably have Pumper on at some point talking about Ace Bailey this, Ace Bailey that, Ace Bailey. You don't want to play here.
Honestly, as much as I, it makes me change my perspective on the player. It might not have been a bad move by him. Couple bad headlines earlier.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't want. I'm sure he doesn't
want to go to a better organization, though. Where did he end up, Ace Bailey?
Salt Lake City. I'm sure that thrilled him.
Oh yeah. Oof.
He wanted to be in Washington, so he got But at least in Utah, he they don't have much talent, so he can have a big role right away. So it'll appeal at least to the narcissism standpoint of him. But yeah. He's not going to be happy out there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Nice place, though. People. There's a lot worse places you can live than Salt Lake City.
You ever been to Salt Lake City?
Oh yeah. Nice place.
My cousin's living out there right now. He just moved there for like a year or two with his wife. Yeah,
I like some of those NBA cities you don't get to go to, and I used to like Portland a lot till it turned into.
I think one of our great viewers in here lives in Portland. One of our great viewers in here every day, Dank. Yeah, Dank's a Portland guy. I think.
I used to love Portland, Dank. I not as nice as it once was.
No, I don't know. I've never been to Portland, so I can't speak on it. Johnny Mac, good stuff though. There's our little 10 minutes of talk on the Sixers NFL or NBA draft last night. I got one confession before we move on.
I
didn't watch a single second of the NBA draft last night. I just went to Twitter and figured out who they took and what some people thought of it. So I didn't watch a single second of it. I had a lot of things going on here. So I didn't watch any of it, but the Sixers end up with VJ Edgecombe. We'll see how it all plays out. Johnny Mac, let's move into some Eagles discussions here today. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. All right. Today, hit that like button for us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Already got a good crowd in here. Maybe because we were a little bit late, so the buildup was there early. Johnny Mac, let's get in. We've been doing our top 25 Eagles list. You and Ed Kratz have been doing it over on Sports Illustrated. and we are down to number 19 today. Yesterday was number 20. It was Jake Elliott. Previously, it was Keely Ringo at 21, Jahan Dotson at 22, Adoree Jackson at 23, Matt Pryor at 24, and Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba tied at 25. So that's our list so far, and we are officially down to number 19 on the list. Johnny Mac, the floor is yours. Number 19 goes to who?
A little bit of a projection here, and a pretty significant projection, and that's Jalen Hunt, who I think everybody is very high on. Not maybe nobody more so than you, Zander. Obviously showed some really, really good signs when he was forced to play late in the season and into the playoffs. And now they need him. They need him to step up a little bit quicker than they would have imagined. We all know the history by now, I would think. Safety at Cornell, late bloomer from a physical standpoint, from tiny Houston Christian, the Houston Christian Huskies, not exactly the Alabama Crimson Tide. The thought was this is a developmental player. It's a third-round pick late in the third round. And because of injuries at that particular position, he was forced to play in a rotational role. And now he's going to be asked to take on basically Josh Sweat's role, which is a lot different. But I think, one of the positives is, talk about young players in basketball, sometimes when you throw them into the deep end of the pool and you expect them to struggle, they surprise you. And I think that was the case with Jalen Hunt, because I don't think, Vic Fangio was too confident. And all of a sudden he shows up and, when he first, it's ironic when he first got to play, which was about probably week 10-ish, right when Brandon got hurt against the Rams is when he got the uptick in snaps. And Vic thought he was better as a run defender than a pass rusher. And he was playing him on early downs and not third down. And obviously the whole hype on him coming out was that he was going to at least had the potential to be a good edge rusher. So I think the run support stuff, while it's not setting the edge, while it's not sexy to most fans, it's probably more important than they realize, because that was Josh's role to a certain degree.
Right.
And they don't have that player on paper. We've talked about the undersized nature of their edge rushers. Nolan's very undersized.
Nolan is good at it despite being undersized.
He is. He's better than most 238-pound guys, but at the end of the day, he's 238 pounds. And if he gets,
I did like his one quote though. He's like, you got to stop the run to earn the
yeah. Well, he's definitely got the right mentality, and he was, same thing happened to George. He was better really against the run than as a pass rusher. But he played a lot at off-ball linebacker. But just the general nature, you can see they're populating it. And Vic, even Hunt playing safety earlier in his career till he blossomed from a physical standpoint. But he's got the frame to add weight. I keep talking about that.
And he's already added, by the way, a crap load of weight since like Cornell, I'm talking, when he was a safety.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 60-plus pounds at least.
And he'll be over 250. I don't know what he's going to play at. Last year they listed him at like 248, I think. But he's long, he's rangy. He'll probably eventually land at 260, I would think, somewhere down the road. And he's got the frame to carry that. Whereas Nolan doesn't, Ojulari doesn't, Uche doesn't. All these guys, Jahad Campbell, if you want to put him at edge rusher, doesn't. He's got the frame to add that sort of size and weight. So a lot of positives for Jalen Hunt. And the hope by the Eagles is he'll be the starting right end. And they'll go into training camp. You know, it's interesting. There's some guys like Ringo, and I think Hunt's in this category, where Tyler Steen's in this category. They're defaulting to those guys, and it's their job to lose versus somebody like Sidney who's got to go win a job.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I think Hunt's in that category.
Yeah, I agree. So there's your 19th overall player in the top 25 list. It's Jalen Hunt, somebody I'm very high on, as John mentioned. A lot of people high on the player. John, how do you think, let's talk a little bit more about him. How do you think him starting at safety at Cornell a couple of years ago, obviously now he's the starting edge rusher, presumably on a team that just won a Super Bowl. I mean, that's a big jump. But I think there's a lot of things there that could benefit you as a player, specifically in Vic Fangio's defense. How do you see that, you know, how that's helped shape his technique and things like that, or really just his ability to be versatile in Vic's defense? How much do you think that's helped him?
I think it helps a lot because, you know, Vic likes his edge rushers, overhang players, whatever you want to call them, to drop in coverage every once in a while. Not a ton, but probably more than fans like. And sometimes it looks ugly, to be honest, because a lot of those guys are like fishes out of water when you tell them to go backwards instead of forward. And really, you're just trying to throw a curveball at the quarterback. It's not like you're trying to match up coverage with an overhang player, but he's got the natural ability to cover from the mentality standpoint. Obviously, at 250, he can't run with receivers like he had to do when he was playing at Cornell, but he knows the mentality of it, playing in space, and just that comfort, I think, makes him a little bit better. To a certain degree, that's the same thing with Nolan Smith, because he played all-ball linebacker and some coverage responsibilities at Georgia. Ojulari, same thing. Campbell, same thing if you want to project him outside. So you can see him adding those types of players, guys who are comfortable going backward. And he's got a bunch of them now, which is probably a positive from his standpoint.
Yeah, and I feel like Vic Fangio is the perfect coach to, you know, mold him into the edge rusher that he needs to be to play in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah, well, you know, Vic's proven, demonstrated performance, 40 years. So he's generally going to get, not always, Bryce Huff, you know, he is a human being.
Well, I know, but I do think certain traits and certain types of players would fit here better, especially with Vic. Bryce was obviously not a great fit in that he was limited in what he could do, versus Jalen is a guy who, let's be real, if he didn't fall in Philly, this is a guy who maybe could have never played in the NFL. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not that good. I'm just saying you get a team that has a bunch of edge rushers. You get a guy that's not interested in a versatile player like this. They put him on the bench. They put him on the practice squad. And you guys know how that goes. They can be there for years and you never realize their talent. I think it's the perfect fit for him. And I think it's, you know, goes both ways. So I think that's a big advantage, you know, that he's obviously got Vic Fangio and that Vic plays the style of defense he does and uses his edge rushers the way he does.
Yeah, I mean, opportunities always. There's so many guys in the NFL that, you know, are what ifs, and most of them, you know, if you're a day 3 pick, and Jalix was the end of day 2, but if you're a day 3 pick, especially, we talked about it with Antoine Powell-Ryland, sometimes you never get that opportunity. And let's be honest, if guys didn't get hurt last year, we wouldn't know anything about Jalix Hunt because he wouldn't have played. We wouldn't know anything. I mean, he would not be in a position he's in today, at least even competing for a job. We wouldn't know. He wouldn't have had that opportunity to open the coaching staff's eyes and say, hey, maybe we got something here. So when these, and nobody wants these opportunities, and that's why nobody wants opportunities because other guys get hurt, but if you get it, you better take advantage of it. And that's where Jeremiah Trotter is also right now. You know, he's got like at least a month window, I would say, Jeremiah Trotter, to open up some eyes. Say, yeah, we got something with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And if you don't have that opportunity, if guys didn't get hurt in front of Hunt, and if N'Kobe didn't get hurt, if Jahad Campbell didn't hurt his shoulder in college, you know, Trotter would be ready to sit for a second year. And who knows if he ever gets a chance, if those guys are healthy. Probably not, to be honest. And the same thing with Hunt. If he doesn't get an opportunity to flash in those 343 snaps he played last year, the Eagles have a different penciled in edge rusher. I don't know who, but they would have went out and got somebody.
Yeah, right. Crazy how it all works out. John, what do you think his snap count's going to be this year? I know right now he's slated to be that right end and the favorite to be the starter opposite Nolan Smith. Is it 50 to 75%? Is that too heavy? Like, how do you think that rotation goes this year? How much will Jalen Hunt actually be on the field, if assuming he wins that job?
Well, the hope is 821, and I give you that number because that's Josh Sweat's number,
right?
From last year, and that includes the playoffs.
Which is what, 75% probably.
I don't have the percentage in front of me.
But
not quite that high. Not quite that high. But you know, because they do have a 4-man rotation and Josh also had his unique injury things that the Eagles always kept in the back of their minds. So you could argue even more for Jalen Hunt because he doesn't bring that. He doesn't bring that injury sort of history. Now, if you look at the top edge rushers, snap-wise, Karlaftis was number 1, over 1,000. TJ Watt was over that. Those were the only two over 1,000.
That's a lot of snaps, man.
Then you have Van Ginkel at 973, Grenard at 969, Byron Young from the Rams at 936, Jared Verse 933. Rams are good. Vikings are good on the edges. Trayvon Walker, guy we had talked about in the offseason because some weird rumor at some point, even though it made no sense from Jacksonville's standpoint. 911, that's it, and then you're down into the 800s. So I would think if he's the starter, it's got to be at least 700. 800 might be a little bit pie in the sky, but you know, because it's probably going to be more of a village approach than just say, all right, he's replacing Josh. You know, you're going to need more from whether it's Ojulari, whether it's Uche, whether it's Powell Ryland, Patrick Johnson, Jahad Camp. You're going to need something from those guys as well, a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see how it is. He is the front runner there over there. We'll see what the other guys can do. We talked about Antoine Powell Ryland this week. Maybe he has an impact. You got Joshua Uche, you got Aziz Ojulari. So not the most proven position, Johnny Mac, but there is some guys with some upside there. We'll see if they can realize it. And Jalen Hunt is obviously number 1 in that category of guys that need to realize that upside. What kind of I know you hate doing this, John, but just to give people a ballpark of kind of where you are, because I think people look at you as the voice of reason, if that makes sense. What kind of statistical benchmarks do you think for Jalen? We just talked about snap count. I'm not saying sacks or what's going to define the player, but just a ballpark on where you think he might be.
Yeah, boy. You know me and sacks, man.
I know.
It's first of all, you're asking me, are fans going to be happy? He's not going to get 10 sacks. if he does, it's a home
Yeah, but
run.
last year's defense proved that we really don't need 10 sacks.
Well, exactly. It's and you would think people would learn from that, and it's more important to the pressure percentages. Coming up soon on this list will be Moro Ojoma. It's crazy, the pressure percentages and defensive tackles. Jalen Carter was third on this team. Third last season. Behind and by the way, Milton Williams wasn't first. Moro Ojoma was first. Now, again, a lot of that comes into, again, the layered context of professional football. Jalen's getting all the double teams. So, Milton and Moro get to work by themselves one-on-one, and it's easier for them to generate that. So all of it comes in. But the point is how impressive the Eagles' interior pass rush was last year. Not talking about sacks, talking about consistent pressure, speeding the quarterback up, making him uncomfortable, getting him off his spots. That kind of stuff's more important. But, it's one of the reasons Josh Sweat was overrated, because he only had 10 sacks once. It's the reason Brandon Graham was underrated, because he didn't get a lot of sacks. He wasn't a TJ Watt guy. So, if he's the key to me to Jalen Hunt, number one, he's got to be the starter. He's got to take that job. If Azeez Ojulari is the starter, like, to me, that's a bad ending for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, you don't think that's gonna? Do you think that's?
Oh, I think that's got a real opportunity of happening. A real opportunity of happening. Again, this is a completely, for the most part, unproven player. It's all projection at this point, for the most part. And if anything, Ojulari is the more proven commodity, because he's been around for a while. Bad team, we know. Decent numbers on a bad team. People get messed up with that. It's like, why is he getting so many sacks on because they're not relevant, because people, they look at more than numbers, and they look at the film, and they look at the context and how effective was he. And last year, Ojulari was, I got to look up PFF, but it wasn't good. So let's see how many edge rushers they ranked. So 119 guys played enough to be ranked, and Ojulari was 92.
Yeah, so not good.
And that's why he got the contract he got. Now, makes a big difference when you're playing with Jalen Carter and hopefully Nolan Smith and hopefully Moro Ojoma. But again, it's not like last year when you have Josh Sweat and Milton Williams to go with Jalen Carter. So a lot of uncertainty. But if he's the starter, 7, 8, somewhere in that range, 10 will make the people happy. But of all the stats I hate, and people know, I don't think it's a stat-driven game, professional football. I don't. And of all the stats in a non-stat-driven game, the most meaningless to me might be sacks. That might be number one. They're always good. I used to, you heard me have this argument with Jody.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're bad. They're always good by nature. I'm just saying they're not as important as people think they are.
Yeah, they don't tell the full story at all.
No. And sometimes when you just look at that number, and I defer to Chris Long on that because he gave the best description of that. It's like, you got to look at the sack. What happened? Did Fletcher Cox run me into a sack because of a great interior passer? All right, I get the sack. Who cares? It's Fletcher making the play. So many times that happens with Jalen now. Is the quarterback, is he blushing instead of climbing? Sometimes he'll run right into you. Caleb Williams. People say, well, how can Matt Pryor have such a good grade? And Caleb Williams had 157 sacks he took last year. Because the quarterback's not doing his job, not getting the football out on time. There's a lot that goes into it. Sacks.
You disagree with this comment, I assume? That's like saying home runs are overrated in baseball.
Yes, I disagree with that. Now, from the standpoint of, if it's 10-2 and you hit a 3-run home run, all right, bully for you. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of guys, garbage time stats, more mainly with quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a lot of that. And there's garbage time in everything. There's garbage time in baseball. There's garbage time in basketball. But no, generally, and again, but it's all contextual. But yeah, I would say home runs in baseball are a tad bit more important. That's interesting. Like, why are you comparing home runs to sacks? Why aren't touchdown passes? Why aren't, like, Saquon Barkley's 70-yard run is a home run? That's a home run.
Right.
And you'll hear that. You'll hear that phrasing. You might get a 1-yard sack because the quarterback is scrambling. Is that a home run? Well, it might be a cheap one at the short porch in Yankee Stadium. It's not relevant to the game. There's so many sacks that are just irrelevant to the game. Whereas, and I always bring up again, Chris, I would always bring up Chris in the NFC Championship game in the run to Super Bowl 52. That wasn't a sack. Was that a home run? Because Patrick Robinson came away with the interception, and Patrick Robinson did a great job returning the football, but Chris Long made that play. And all it was a pressure and a hurry and a quarterback hit and the ball coming out, flailing. Patrick Robinson gets the gift interception. And then obviously, he, as I said, did a great job with the return. But Chris Long made that play, and it wasn't a sack. And it might be the most important play he made in Philadelphia.
All right.
And that was a home run of a play. I'll tell you that.
Brandon says, spot on. 17 sacks from Trey didn't help the Bengals. It's true.
And hey, Trey Hendrickson, I'm not saying, again, sacks by nature are always a good thing, because even if it is a 1-yard sack, you're losing yardage. You're putting the offense in a more difficult position. I'm just saying that the way people value them is way too weighted. Sometimes it is a home run. Sometimes it's a strip sack. And the ball's going the other way. And that's a home run of a play. But to treat all sacks equally, and that's what too many people do. And it's like, well, he had 10 sacks and he had 17 sacks and he can't get 10 sacks and this and that. That's just, that part of it's bullshit. But, pass rushers want sacks because they get paid. So the whole system is flawed.
Yeah, that's true, man. They get paid on them.
Yeah. And you got guys chasing sacks like Jason Babbitt. That's another thing. Like, wouldn't you rather have the guy impacting the game the way he's supposed to impact the game, with discipline and not chasing things and doing his job? That's the real trick, to get to 15 sacks while doing your job instead of chasing them and going off script and freelancing. But, it'd be nice to have Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, the really high volume sack guys. Be nice to have them. But the Eagles had the best defense in football last year.
The Eagles have one of the best defenses in the history of their franchise, John, including Dan Green.
I know.
And their top sack guy had 8.5.
Yeah,
I thought that would break Eagles fans off a little bit.
you would think it's
desire,
not. It's not going to. It's not going to.
I mean, sacks are fun. Don't get me wrong. But they're not. I don't view them as not necessary to be a great defense. All right, let's get back to Jalen Hunt real quick, John. His arsenal. What is he good at? What does he have to improve at this year? Some people said, early in his career coming out, run defense, setting the edge. Where obviously we talked a little bit about that as areas of improvement. But what do you see? Hand usage, bend, some of those different things. Where is he polished, and where does he still need to get more polished?
Well, he's not polished anywhere, but he's naturally better, and that's big words, not mine. He's naturally better as a run defender, as a run support player, which surprises people. And that's how we used him early on, because he's better. He's better at it. Jalix himself, I mean, he's very raw. Jalix himself says it. Asked him that question this offseason about, what was it? How much did Lane and Jordan help you? He's like, he couldn't snip the quarterback in practice. He couldn't get within 4 yards of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And he was all just speed. And those guys eat speed alive.
Oh, yeah. It's easy for them.
And so that's what he's in the process of doing is developing his, as he calls it, his pass rushing bag. And you have to have counter moves and handwork and technique and fundamentals. And Jeremiah Washburn's another guy who's very good at developmental. Again, the Eagles are so good at developmental aspects compared to the Sixers. It's crazy. So he's in a good position. He's got good coaches. He's got a ton of talent, ton of upside, but he's still really raw as a pass rusher when it comes to the handwork, the footwork, the technique. Right now, he's getting home because he's an athlete. And, that's not going to work a lot against the top tier left tackles. But he's getting better and better. And he's got the one trait that all great pass rushers have is the high motor, the cliche, the relentlessness. He's got that. So that's a good thing, because you got to be constantly chasing, no plays off, and he's got that. So there's a lot of positives to Jalix Hunt, but he's still a very raw player.
Very raw, very raw. A lot of expectations on him, John, coming in. A lot. I mean, look at me. I'm one of them. I think he's going to be a starting edge rusher and be a great player. A lot of people in the chat feel the same way. We're talking about him like, big expectations for a guy coming in, to year 2 who was really taken as a project player just a year ago.
Yeah, and people should maybe slow the roll a little bit.
Maybe
slow the expectations a little bit.
I feel pretty good about him, Johnny Mac.
Well, again, if you're expecting a Josh Sweat level play, I don't like those odds.
Well, I think it's going to look different. I mean, I think they're different types of players, but I think he can be competent enough in this defense for it to not be a major liability. I feel very good saying that. I'm not saying he's going to be Josh Sweat, but I don't think he's going to be a liability out there at all.
Well, there's big difference. Good players win you championships. Non-liability players are great.
Win you 8 games.
Yeah, they're I mean.
So he's got to be better than what I just said. He's got to be more than just a non-liability.
I mean, it's one of those things where you want him to. Again, one of the great terms of all time, Jim Schwartz gave me, startup costs. You want to get the startup costs. You want him playing better in the second half of the season. He might struggle a little bit early.
Right.
And if he gets better and gets better and gets better, that's what you want. And really, you could say the same thing about a lot of the young defensive players. There's going to be moments where you're like, fuck. But if they get better in the second half of the season and you're playing your best football late like they were last year, nobody will care about those lesser moments early in the season.
Jalen Hunt coming in at 19 on your guys' top 25 list. Pretty good for him, John. I'm surprised. I know Jake Elliott had a bad year, but I'm thinking about this list and looking at where he fell. I feel like 20 is a little low for a guy who's been,
Well, they were a dead heat. We said there was only one dead heat. There were actually two, but we said we gave Hunt the advantage because he's a positional player. It's just more important.
Yeah,
no
right.
Offense, but so, yeah, I mean, and Jake would have been higher, but he had a bad season. And there's baked in, you never want to put, I think the highest he ever got maybe on this list was 16, 17, because he's a kicker. I wouldn't put in it. Justin Tucker's the best kicker I've ever seen in his prime, and I think the best kicker of all time in his prime. If I were doing a Baltimore list, I would have never put him in the top 10. He's still a kicker. So that factors into it as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff there, everybody. Jalen Hunt comes in at number 19. I feel pretty good about Jalen Hunt. I understand we did just talk about how maybe my expectations are too high for him, but I do feel good about the player. I think he has the it factor, if you will, and I think his skill set will translate and they will play well. So there he is, number 19, and a big part of the team this year, John. This team needs Jalen Hunt to have a good year if they want to have a chance to go and win a Super Bowl. As you just pointed out, he can't be just a non-liability. He has to be a playmaker. He has to be a good player.
Well, he doesn't have to be, and that's the one thing that Howie has built up. One of them has to be, and by that I mean Jalen, Azeez, or even Josh Uche. One of them has to be, and that's what he's done. Set up. You have three darts to throw at the board instead of one, but I think. And I'm with most of you guys. I have more hope in Jalen Hunt than the other two. But is that realistic, or is that because he's been here? Those two guys are more proven, obviously more experienced, obviously better technique wise, more advanced. But they had some poor seasons elsewhere. Both of them had one good season, basically. But that's one more good season than Jalen. So Jalen is a big projection right now.
I feel good about Uche. I like Uche to be the top Temu signing of the year, John.
Well, then Jalen's probably not starting.
Well, I think there's going to be rotational. I mean, I think
there's definitely got to be a rotation, but I
don't like Uche that much. I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to be a good rotational piece, though.
Yeah, the top Temu signing, that's a tough one. That'll come to opportunity, basically. Which one becomes a starter. And it might be Adoree at corner. It might be Uche or Ojulari at edge rusher. It might be Matt Pryor at right guard. Those are your candidates. It's not going to be Harrison Bryant. It's not going to be A.J. Dillon. If it is A.J. Dillon, that's a bad sign because that means Saquon's hurt. So those would be the candidate. Those are the guys who have a chance to earn a significant role. And that would be Ojulari, Uche, Adoree Jackson, and Matt Pryor.
Is Pryor, are we counting Pryor as a Temu? I guess he is, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's 1 year. $1.36 million. Exactly. Yeah, he's with everybody else. Why wouldn't he be a Temu signing?
I don't know. I'm just trying to make him not be a Temu signing. Andrew Jackson checks in. What's up, Andrew? Yo, I always listen while I'm driving the mail, but vacation starts today, and I'm catching y'all live. Andrew, thanks for spending some time with us, brother, on your vacation, man. We appreciate you for being here. Appreciate everybody for being here. Great opening segment here on Jay Let's Hunt, Johnny Mac. We also talked about VJ Edgecombe by the Sixers. Brian Pumper, where are you, Pump? We need.
By the way, Todd Bowles just got an extension.
Yes, all that Bowles and
Jason Light as well,
Light, yeah.
Former Eagles executive, by the way.
Yeah, good stuff there. So great opening segment. Appreciate everybody for being here. Hit that like button. Great to have everybody in here. We're trying to get to 150 likes. All right, so keep smashing that like button for us. JD3's in here. He says, J-Mac will taste sweet tears, or tears will taste sweet when Harrison is all pro and he will be the top Timu signing. Pro. I don't see it.
Well, yeah, because that means he's better than George Kittle and Brock Bowers. Now we're going to all pro. By the way, JD, he was Brock Bowers' backup last year. I don't think he's going to be an all pro.
No, he's not going to be better than Brock Bowers in any world ever in any day of this planet that we live on. Sorry, JD.
I'm confident of that one.
Yeah,
he's not going to be an all pro.
Me too. Good stuff, everybody. Hit that like button. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, I got plenty to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about Nakobe Dean. We were going to talk about him yesterday. We didn't get to it. And then one other rookie is on my mind. It's Ty Robinson, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about Ty Robinson. Jalen Carter spoke highly of him. He's going to be another guy that I believe will have to have a good first year in the league. That's a big ask, but we had a bunch of them do it last year. It was a big part of the reason they won the Super Bowl. If they want to be a Super Bowl contender, I got news. You're going to need some rookies to step up, and I think Ty Robinson is one of them. So we will talk about Ty Robinson. Hit that like button, everybody. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. Looking forward to hearing from all you guys over there. We've had a great off season so far, so thanks everybody for being here. We're about, what are we, John, 27 days away? They report, what, July 22nd?
July 22nd, yeah.
And then they're on the field 23rd?
23rd, yeah.
So 26 days out from July 22nd, and we're 70 days away from the banner drop. The season start for the Birds. Jerry Jones will load up in his private jet. He'll fly from Dallas, Texas, to the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, and he'll watch the banner fall at Lincoln Financial Field. A sweet moment for Jeffrey Lurie and the entire Eagles organization. So it's coming quick, Johnny Mac. How's your
in a moment I will probably miss because I missed it last time.
No, you're not missing it. No way. You kidding me? John, how's your off-season honey-do list coming? You knocking things off the boat? What's going on?
I mean, we're always doing pregame shows, and so I didn't see the banner drop last time.
Well, we weren't doing a pregame show last time. We weren't live.
Well, not we specifically, but,
yeah, but other ones.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I probably, and you know, to me, the banner drops more. I guess it's a bigger thing in like basketball and hockey because it's condensed in the arena, and you can better get a feel for it.
Yeah, right.
Like football, it's like, yeah, all right, can we kick it off? But it'll be obviously exciting for people. I just probably won't see much of it, but I think the more important part will be beating the what out of the Dallas Cowboys, which I think is likely. Speaking of Jerry Jones, but yeah, I don't know what he's doing with that team. I don't know what. They're going to be better because Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, and Cooper Rush is Cooper Rush, so they're going to be better from that standpoint. But I don't like what the Cowboys are doing, to say the least.
And how's the honey-do list? You knocking things off, or are you still way behind?
Oh, way behind, but that's because everything keeps breaking, man. I'm in a muck, man. The washer and dryer, tree. What else?
Man, from trees to washers and dryers. This is not the off season J Mac was looking for.
No, it's been brutal. It's been a brutal run, not to mention the heat. But yesterday was washer and dryer day, which is I'm still trying to recover from that, which is one of the reasons I was 10 minutes late and all the trolls got their trolling time. Because I forgot to do something. Because I'm worried about the damn washer and dryer. But anyway, part of life.
Yeah, part of life. Keep knocking it out, Johnny Mac. We're only 26 days out, brother, till they're back at camp. And the busy season begins for us here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate everybody for being here. Johnny Mac, a couple guys I want to talk about here in this last hour, number 2 here on this Thursday edition of Birds 365. I want to talk a little Ty Robinson, and I want to talk to Kobe Dean. All right, where you want to go first? You want to go Ty first? You want to go Kobe first?
Yeah, we could talk about Ty. Because he said before the break and teasing it, they're going to need. I don't think it's as important for Ty Robinson. I mean, I think he's penciled in, as the 4th guy in the rotation, so he'll probably get to play. Although, I don't think that's a slam dunk as many people think it is, because the Eagles do see something in some of the backup defensive tackles that people don't think about. Guys like Thomas Booker, who's been here and they trust. They think Gabe Hall's got an upside. It was a practice squad player last year. And Byron Young, don't sleep on Byron Young. That's a guy that was the 70th pick in the draft in 2023 from Alabama. And they picked him off waivers from the Raiders last year and kind of stashed him and redshirted him, for lack of a better term. So they have some people at defensive tackle. So they're not just going to roll Ty Robinson out there. He's going to have to compete, and that's the way you want it. I would still say he's the odds-on favorite to be the fourth guy in the rotation, but it wouldn't surprise me if he isn't, especially early in the season.
Yeah. How fast do you think he could carve out significant snaps? I mean, obviously, we just talked about Milton Williams is gone, and I do think they have players in the room, but I don't know. Ty's versatile, man. I could see Vic liking his skill set. Now, he is a rookie. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on him. What was he, a fourth rounder, I think, fourth-round rookie, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he's a fourth rounder.
Yeah, fourth-round rookie. So I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I think he's got the skill set. I've been impressed by what he said. That doesn't really mean he's going to play well.
He's a very impressive person.
Yeah, very impressive. We'll see. But how fast do you think he can carve out significant snaps?
But, it's interesting because and nobody gets to see Thomas Booker because he hasn't. I mean, that dude, I call him Senator Booker. He's going to be a senator. He's from Stanford. He is really impressive person.
He's in the politics too, right, Booker?
Yeah, we've had some some interesting political decisions. Just very, very smart, as you would imagine, from a Stanford guy. He's only 25 years old. You talk about versatility. He's probably their most versatile as far as being able to play a little bit of nose tackle. Now, the Eagles have had a very difficult time trying to find a backup nose tackle because 340-pound guys you can move don't grow on trees. Right. And Thomas is 305-ish. So he's got some size. That's the same thing. They were using Byron Young sort of in a they didn't line up because it's, again, spring is not a time for the offensive defensive line. So we'll get a much clearer view at training camp. But when they did line up in 5-man fronts in the spring, I never saw it with the first team because it's, remember, it's essentially a passing camp. So you want your pass rushing group out there when you do the rare times you do team drills. So that's going to be a 4-man front. But the few times they did roll out a 5-man front, it was with the second team, and it was Byron Young who was getting the nose tackle reps. So I think that's a positive sign for him. And yeah, I think Ty Robinson, again, he's a day 3 pick. I think he'll have every opportunity to compete and earn that 4th spot. But I don't think I think a lot of people, and I wrote about this last week, a lot of people have defaulted to him like that's his job. I don't think that's the case even remotely. He's got to beat out Thomas Booker. He's got to beat out Byron Young. He's got to beat out Gabe Paul. And if you ask me the favorite, I would say it's Booker. 1, followed by Ty Robinson, 2.
I think I saw Booker in a clip yesterday at that goofy thing they do down the shore where they're all drunk and drinking, and Jason Kelsey's pulling his pants off. I'm like, Jason, what are you doing, dude? I don't know. That's not my cup of tea, but I know people.
Jason's not coming back. He's lost weight to where he feels comfortable pulling up his pants.
It's goofy. Like, the guy's got whatever. I don't want to judge. I mean, a couple kids and he's up there pulling his pants. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? I don't know, but people get a kick out of it. I think I saw Thomas Booker though there to get to my point.
He's remember that name. You don't hear it a lot, but you hear it on this show. And the Eagles like him. And you talk about, because Ty Robinson is really impressive person, but so is Thomas Booker. And maybe the 2 of the smartest people on the team, ironically, playing the same position. And I mean book smart more than football smart. But they like Thomas Booker a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he does. We'll see what he does. Do you, John? Do you think you just mentioned that they've been looking for that, second nose tackle? Do you think Ty could be that? I don't know.
He's like I think the reason people are enamored with Ty Robinson is he looks like, he's ready made for WWE. If he had to take off his pants and like Kelsey and, it was about cosmetics, he'd be a main eventer. So I think they're enamored by his physical stature. And he's a great athlete too. He tested well. But I asked that question to a couple of scouts I know, because I got to watch some Ty Robinson film, and I just don't see it on film. It's like, because he tested great,
Right.
and and maybe it's just because he's so, like, he's almost like a bodybuilder. Like, to me, and this is just rampant speculation, I'm not saying the Eagles have asked. To me, he might have to tone that down a little bit and maybe concentrate more on training for the football part of it,
Right?
So he can translate some of that athleticism onto the field. But I don't think he's, like, 99% of the people have penciled him as the fourth defensive tackle. I think he's got to earn that job.
So he's really an effort guy, though, right? He's one of those guys. He's got obviously high motor type of player. So we'll see. But you got to be able to create leverage in the NFL and win the battles with leverage and hand usage and all those different things. We'll see if he can refine it and kind of come into his own and come into his what he can be this year.
I mean, he's listed at 288, which I think shocks people because of his body type. Like, he looks like superstar Billy Graham for old school wrestling fans. He looks like, the biggest, strongest guy from a physical standpoint. But 288 is not big for a defensive tackle in the NFL.
What's Jalen Carter weigh?
310, 315. But for a nose tackle, it's really small. Like, you're not holding up on the nose at 288. So, but he's a great athlete. Like, I don't think people realize, like, just from, I don't know if it translates to the football field, but, the relative athletic score, I'm just looking it up. It was off the charts. Very similar. 18 out of 1,812 from 87 to 2025. That's how good of an athlete he is. So his vertical leap, his broad jump, his 40-yard dash, that's the things we're talking about. His 20-yard split, his 10-yard
What was this 40, like a 4.83 or something like that?
4.83. 4.83 at his size is pretty freaking impressive. But I don't know.
What did Jordan Davis run? Remember Jordan Davis, like, grabbed every headline in the world when he ran the 40?
Yeah. Well, he was at like he was doing it at
340 pounds.
340. There's very few people of Jordan Davis's size that have ever moved like Jordan Davis. But, again, does it translate? I'm glad you brought that up. 4.78 at 341. I'm glad you brought that up because it hasn't really translated. Like, people and that's why the projection was, well, he could be a great pass rusher. I remember my buddy Damo saying he could be an edge rusher. And I'm like, I don't see that just because of his athleticism.
Right. Now, Ty will have a different role, though, right? I mean, it's harder to be a pass rusher from the middle where Jordan plays predominantly.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ty's not a nose tackle. I mean, if he's playing nose tackle.
No, he's too small. 288. Come on. I mean, as much as he might have the skill set, like you said,
or even
a
shade one technique. If he's playing there, it's out of necessity, not because they want to. So he's got to be more the 3 technique, 4-eye guy, which is sort of the role of Jalen Carter, Moro Jomo, those guys. Milton Williams previously, Fletcher. That's what he's got to. And, like, technically, he's a better athlete than Fletcher Cox or Jalen Carter. As crazy as that sounds, does it look that way on the field? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're 18th out of 1,812 defensive tackles over the past 40 years. Does he look more athletic on film? People haven't seen him play yet. And for the people that have, now Jalen Carter didn't work out at the combine because of all the issues. But I don't think he would have hit Ty's numbers. But Jalen Carter looks a hell of a lot. And Jalen Carter's probably, because Jalen Carter's so gifted.
I know he's an outlier. I was like, I don't want to compare anybody to him.
But so I'll go back to Milton Williams and see what he did. But I'm sure Ty Robinson performed better at the combine because there's only 17 guys that performed better overall than Milton Williams, who was very athletic himself. So, but I don't know if he was top 17. But, you know, and again, people see, to me, it doesn't translate on the field. So something's missing. I don't know what.
Where do you think he best projects, though? Just like as a 3 technique, regular defensive tackle, basically?
I don't. I'm more of a 4-eye, which is, you know, you got to play both. I think people don't understand. You toggle back from these techniques from play to play. You got to play both.
Yeah, right. I think he's going to be a 1 technique, a 3 technique, and a 4 technique in the same series, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I think he's more suited to play a lot of 4-eye, which is basically he's going to be a better run defender than pass rusher. I think. But we'll see. He'll have an opportunity to earn his spot. He's certainly got the athleticism to, but be careful with that, because they said the same thing about Jordan Davis. And just because you're a great athlete running around in your shorts and broad jumping and vertical leaping doesn't mean it translates to the football field.
John, for those who don't know, can you explain the techniques? I know. Obviously, like 3 technique means you're trying to beat up on the guard and penetrate. 4-eye typically means you're probably trying to control the tackle a little bit and set the edge on the outside, control the B gap. Just explain, because I don't know if I think people know because they listen to the show all year round. So I'm assuming that they are smarter than the average football consumer. But for anybody that's listening that might not know, I think it'd be beneficial to explain, you know, what exactly that means. Oh, what the heck does it mean that a defensive tackle is playing 3 tech or 4-eye tech or 4 tech or 1 tech or 2 tech, whatever it is?
Well, the easiest is 0 tech, which is, you know, nose tackle, which is right over the center. Basically 4-eye. It refers to the gap and where you are shaded. 4 eyes means you're on the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle.
Right.
And generally that's been Vic's philosophy, is to have, you know, on run, when he wants to stop the run, he plays 5-man fronts, nose, 2 4-eyes, and then what he calls overhang players, which are the edge rushers, who are going to be anywhere from 7 technique to 9 technique. Everybody hears wide 9. That used to drive me crazy back in the day, because when not Jeremiah's dad, Jim Washburn, was here, everybody was, well, they play the wide 9. It's like, it's a technique. It's not a defense. People thought it was a defense. Those were the Jason Babin days. But so you can be 2-eye, you can be any gap, basically. You can be 2-eye, you can be outside shoulder, depending on what you're trying to take advantage of. But for the most part, the Eagles start in that process, and when they get to the pass rushing downs, they're going to have people in wide 9 situations, the edge rushers. But from the standpoint of 3 technique, that's usually the passer. That's usually the Jalen Carter. That's the best position to pass rush from the interior, and that's where you put the Aaron Donalds of the world, for the most part. But again, everybody plays a bunch of different techniques. But for the Eagles, the way they play defense, the tackles are mainly going to play either 0, 1, which would be Jordan Davis, 3 and 4-eye, which will be everybody else.
Right.
Including Jordan Davis, because he's got to play that as well.
Yeah, that's the big question. Can he play 3-tech?
Yeah. Well, he's not going to play much 3-tech, but he'll play some 4-eye, and yeah, he's got to get better at that. But yeah, so that's basically how Vic runs his system, and that's, you know, I'm personally, I'm a fan of, if you think about Jim Schwartz, it was a little bit different. That's where you have the wide 9 guys. That's where you have the old 4-man front. You're going to have the 2 defensive tackles. Fletcher Cox would be the 3 technique, and then sort of toggle back and forth with the other one. But at times you could have 2 3 techniques. And that's funner for a defensive lineman, I should say. You know, when Fletcher went from Jim Schwartz to Jonathan Gannon, he was not happy, man. Because that 4-eye bullshit, yeah.
I remember it, man.
That ain't fun. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, little tutorial.
NFL just put out a 17-minute video of Fletcher Cox highlights on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, for anybody.
Great player.
Yeah.
There's another guy. That's a borderline Hall of Fame player.
Yeah. Well, so I saw somebody in the chat this morning say, I don't think you put out a 17-minute highlight reel unless you want to put him in the Hall. I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, but hey, John's been saying he's borderline. Maybe he's got enough love to get in. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the NFL, I think a lot. It's not the NFL. It's not the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They're not even involved. So technically, so yeah, they're not doing it for that reason. But he's just a very good player, and I think most people know it. But I do think there's some that when you say he's a borderline Hall of Fame player, I've said that in the past, and people give me the cross eye. I'm like, what do you think a Hall of Fame player is? That dude dominated for a very long time. And when I always say with Brandon as well, every time we had conference calls with opposing coaches, offensive coaches, they'd always bring up Fletcher and Brandon first. And they always use numbers, 91, 55. That's who they were worried about. So
we'll see if Fletcher Cox gets in. John, we just talked about the techniques. Where do you think Ty Robinson best projects? Where would he thrive the most, in your opinion?
Well, in theory, 3 because of athleticism, but I think he's more of a 4-eye guy. I think that's going to be his best role. Like, that to me, the athleticism doesn't show up on film. Now, maybe that changes when he gets better coaching. But I think that's the reason why, let's be honest, the NFL is usually enamored by athletes like Ty Robinson, and he was a 4th-round pick. There's a reason he was a 4th-round pick, and I don't think it translates, yes, but that's where the Eagles coaches come in. And they have to develop them. So we'll see. To me, it's 4-eye, but I think the hope is because of his athleticism that it'd be 3 technique.
Good stuff there on Ty Robinson, everybody. That's the discussion on Ty Robinson. It's going to be interesting to see, John. I think he's got a good chance to, do they have enough to make up for the loss of Milton Williams? And I don't think it's all on Ty. I think you got Jordan will have a bigger role. Jalen Carter's still probably going to, I don't know if he can have a bigger role. He damn near played 100% of snaps most games last year. So I'm not going to say he's going to have a bigger role, but you got Jordan, you got Mora with Jomo, you got Ty, you got Thomas Booker, Byron Young, as you talked about. Do they have enough to replace Milton Williams? I think they do.
I think that's up to Morrow, really. How quickly does he develop? No, I don't think he's going to be Milt Williams, at least early on. But I think they're fine overall from a standpoint of they have plenty to be a good defense on the defensive tackle. It's not a position I'm concerned about, but no, I don't think they have a player that's going to play at the level of Milt Williams. Milt was really good last year.
Yeah, he was.
So part of it is that, but I think they have enough at defensive tackle. I'm not worried about defensive tackle.
Yeah, me neither. We'll see what ends up happening there. Great stuff on Ty Robinson. Great show so far. I want to thank everybody for being here. We got one super chat we'll read before we get to our commercial break. I appreciate everybody. Hit the like button. We're trying to get to 150 likes per show. So keep smashing that like button. And if you're listening after, and maybe we already gotten to 150 by this point later in the day, smash it and help us get to 200 or 250. So we appreciate all of you guys watching. Here in the off season, we are 20. What did I say we were, John? How many days away from? 26 days away from July 22nd. 26 days away.
I don't even know what the date is. We got 4 days left in June, and then 26 days. Yeah,
crazy how fast it goes. I feel like June just started, man. It's crazy how quick time flies. So 26 days, it'll be here before we know it. Let's get to our super chat. JD3, our Harrison Bryant Truther checking in. What's up, brother? Do either of you see a world where we see some 3 linebacker sets when Campbell and Dean get healthy? Maybe with Bond or Campbell playing edge linebacker.
Well, that's not really a 3 linebacker set. Like that's
right.
Like I'm not concerned about labeling. You're not going to see 3 linebackers, traditional linebackers, like old school linebackers. You could have 3 labeled linebackers on the field, like Nakobe and Zach playing stacked off ball and Jihad playing edge rusher. So yes, from that standpoint, but no to the way you phrased it. Like you can pick up a roster and they're going to list Jihad Campbell as a linebacker, but if he's playing edge rusher, he's playing edge rusher. So that's, to me, that's part of the problem with the NFL. The NFL is a labeling problem. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, when Malcolm Jenkins was playing linebacker, he's a safety, but he was playing linebacker.
They're not going to be in any traditional 4-3s, though.
No, God no.
Well, isn't that basically what 3 linebacker set would mean in a traditional sense?
Yeah. In a traditional sense, you had a middle linebacker, a weak side linebacker, and a strong side linebacker. Sam, they don't do that anymore.
No. So probably not, JD3. Appreciate you checking in, brother. We will say I do think this, John, just on this question, I do think that the difference in this year's defense compared to last year's defense, like I got asked if you think they'll run the same defense that they ran last year, basically with just the new players plugged in. And the one place I could see it changing would be the versatility of the linebackers, where when Jihad Campbell is healthy, you have that type of skill set with Zach Bond. It might give you more versatility. We've talked about it here on the show, where you can rush one, drop one. You know what I mean? And it gives you a little bit more versatility.
That's the ultimate goal, to have those two, and that's probably more about 2026, to have those two. Just at that point, Nakobe, unfortunately, will, depending on your belief in him.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Nakobe next, so.
He'll be gone most likely, and then it'll be, you have the 2 linebackers, and then I think you're going to see more A gap stuff and more trying to fool the quarterback, mugging the A gaps, trying to make them indecisive. Maybe one rushes, one drops, maybe both drop. But you have all these different things you can do, and that's where I think ultimately they want to go. With those 2 particular players because of their versatility. So yeah, I think if everything works out with Jihad Campbell, he's going to be a very unique player that really hasn't been seen that much before here. It's been used in other places, but I think for people in Philadelphia, you haven't really had that type of player. And even more so, the comparison was always Van Ginkel, because they had him in Miami, and the Eagles probably would have went after him if he didn't hurt his foot. And And if you watched him play, he can play more off. He can play off ball linebacker, and he has played off ball linebacker. He can rush from the outside. He can rush from the inside. He's all over the place. But he's more edge rusher than off ball linebacker. Looks like Campbell's going to be more off ball linebacker than edge rusher. But who knows? Howie's brought up. I'll tell you this. And Howie's brought up the Penn State guys, and what he means is Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter, who both played off-ball linebacker at Penn State, and they both ended up as edge rushers. And that's because you can have more impact as the edge rusher. So if Jahad Campbell has that impact, he's going to be playing the edge more.
Yeah, they're not going to force him to play linebacker if he's got an impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. Because if he's that good as a pass rusher, yeah, they're not going to waste it. Just like the Cowboys and now the Giants, and even Penn State, although Penn State kind of wasted Micah. They didn't waste.
They didn't waste Abdul. Yeah, I was going to say. They learned from Micah. Abdul Carter was coming the edge a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. JD3, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate everybody for being here. When we come back, I got a good segment on the Kobe Dean. I don't want to spend. We're running low on time. We've been yapping. We've been good, man. Normally I'm like trying to come up with content. I'm like, shit. Now I'm not going to get it in. I had a fun list today, John. I'm going to do a list that you don't hate. I don't think you'll hate this list at all. I'm
dreading the start of training camp because of the grind, but only the best part is it means list season is over.
It means list season is over. But this is my list I have. All right. I'm trying to come up with lists that John won't punch me through the screen on. All right. And I think there's a very few of them out there that exist. The one I came up with today is top 10 Eagles that you've covered since you've been in Philly. Is that something that you think you could do?
Top 10 Eagles. There's a lot of.
That's what I mean. I feel like that would be a good thing. How many of them are on this current team? How many of them are on 16, 17, 18's team? Is there Malcolm in there? Fletcher? I feel like that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, that might have to take some research though.
Yeah. We can do it tomorrow. We're going to be out of time anyway because I want to talk about the
Yeah, this team's loaded.
I know. That was my dilemma, is how many of them are going to be on this freaking team because it's so damn good.
But I mean, you're talking about potential. Obviously, Kelsey's got to be on there because he's going to the Hall of Fame. Boy, I'll tell you, Jeff Stoutland. If you've ever talked to Jeff Stoutland, one of his favorite players ever was Brandon Brooks.
Brandon Brooks, yep. All right, well, don't do it now. You're giving away some of your answers.
I'm just. Well, no, I'm not, because there's so many good players. It's
right.
How do you put this guy over that guy? I just talked about Fletcher earlier in this show. He's a borderline Hall of Fame player. In fact, I've had that discussion. For the vast majority of their careers, their respective careers, and this is my argument for Fletcher Cox. Like Jason Kelsey's a no doubt about it Hall of Fame player.
Right.
Slam dunk from everybody's perspective. My point with Fletcher has been for the vast majority of their careers, Fletcher was the better player.
Right.
And if he's a slam dunk, why the hell isn't Fletcher a slam dunk?
Different positions. Does that change, tilt the scale a little bit?
Well, I think it's the other bullshit. I think it's Kelsey's so entertaining and
Kelsey's
everybody loves him.
Pants off in front of a bunch of people in public in Ocean City or Seattle.
And he does have a fun, but I'm saying as a pure football player. Now, Jason had a weird career because he got better as he got older. Typically, players descend. He got better as he got older. So, but you can make a strong argument that Fletcher Cox was a better pure football player. Because I've been doing this top 25 Eagles thing since I've been here, whether I was at a different outlet or Sports Illustrated.
Right.
And for a long time, Fletcher was number one each year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Fletcher's being overlooked a little bit for a
Crazy.
Hall of Fame.
Crazy to me. Well, I don't think it'll be overlooked by those guys. Ultimately, I think he's gonna get in, but we'll see.
We'll see what ends up happening. Good stuff there, John. Then we'll do that list. Maybe not today. Maybe I'll give you some time, and we'll do that tomorrow on the show on a Football Friday edition. That'll be our Football Friday list. John, you like that list? I can see it. You don't hate that list. I know you hate list season, but that's
I hate lists in general, but you have to do them. I'm not, we do our top 25, but
that's not an awful list. No, that's not an aggregator list. That's not I'm fishing headlines list. That's just
that's not a Nick Sirianni's the 8th best coach in football list.
Which was, by the way, one of the worst effing lists I've ever read in my life. But anyway, I digress on the list. Like Johnny says, just click to the next one, and the next one we'll click to will be John's top 10 Eagles he's covered. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Let's get to our commercial break. I want to talk a little Nakobe Dean, everybody. All right, I don't know what's going to happen with Nakobe. I love Nakobe Dean. I love the player. I love the kind of guy he is. I love listening to him when he's on camera. He just seems like a good dude to have in the locker room. But business is business, and we don't know how it's going to end. We'll talk about it with John when we get back. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the shot takers and the tastemakers. Welcome to the viewfinders, the thrill seekers, and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone and Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the thrill seekers and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. Great show here today we've had so far. We appreciate all the great viewership, all the great comments, the shares, the likes, the subscribes, and the super chats today. We appreciate each and every one of you. John, we got about 22 minutes left to play here on Birds 365, and I want to talk a little bit about Nakobe Dean. I think this thing can go so many different directions. I'm leaning toward, I don't know how long-term he'll be here, but we can save that for a little bit toward the end of the conversation. Let's start with, he was injured January 12th. All right. Torn patellar tendon was the injury January 12th, as I mentioned. Do you think he's on, where do you think his timeline lands, John? Do you think he's on track to start the opening season? Would he start on, if he didn't, would he be on the IR, or would it be like the PUP list? I don't know how that worked. Those terms confuse me.
I think he's very comfortable that he's going to start the season on the PUP list. Not that he's very comfortable, but that's the reality of that injury.
Right.
Vic kind of intimated it when he's not. It's going to be a while. January 12th could be a 12-month injury. Yeah, I mean, this is professional football now. I think the hope is he's back by mid-season would be my guess, and Vic has been pretty consistent when he's back. He's the middle linebacker. But that is dependent on health. I mean, this is a very significant injury. So, number one, you have to see if he's the same guy pre and post injury. If it's a good rehab and he's healthy, I do think he'll take over that middle linebacker role. He is the defensive leader. Some of the things you mentioned, he's a true leader on this team, a very young team. He'd be one of the guys that I would say if there were no injury, like I would guarantee he's going to be a captain this year. Unfortunately, there was that injury. And Vic loves him. And I think people don't realize, because Zach Bond had such a phenomenal year, how good he was playing before he was injured. So it was the two linebackers together, which is crazy to have that kind of linebacker play the way it has been in Philadelphia for so long. And then all of a sudden to get two players playing at that kind of level in the same season is almost crazy. And it speaks to like Vic's valuation of linebackers versus where they've been typically, which is in line with the most of the rest of the league, which is more devalued. But, so Zach Bond was number one. If you take the PFF rankings, Zach Bond was number one and Nakobe was number 11. So you had two of the top 11 linebackers in football. That's pretty good. And then Oren Burks finished it off. He deserves credit as well. But the injuries are real with Nakobe. That was part of the reason he fell to the third round.
Right.
Because there were a lot of concerns about issues that he had at Georgia. And now that he's gotten here, he had the Lisfranc injury, which was very serious and a very difficult rehab. And now you have the patellar, which is, again, a very difficult injury, long rehab. So at some point, that kind of stuff wears on people. Even he's only 24 years old. So you're like, well, he's young. He can get through it. And he probably can. But the injury history is too difficult to ignore, to the point that the Eagles drafted a player that obviously is going to play when he's healthy. And he's going to be healthier quicker than Nakobe.
Could he get Wally pipped? No, I wonder. You know what I mean? I wonder, all these linebackers, man, if Jihad's healthy before him, if Jeremiah Trotter plays well. Now, I didn't realize he was the 11th rated higher ranked linebacker in the league last year. That's pretty damn high for him. He had a really good year, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of that startup cost, right? Like, do you go back to Nakobe knowing he might not be here long-term, or do you kind of get the young guys in and suffer the startup cost for the long-term gain? I don't know. It's a tough situation though.
Well, I think in Trotter's case, he's going to get that opportunity. That because of those injuries, because he's going to be the starting linebacker for at least, I would say, 4 weeks. at the bare minimum. And you're right. I mean, from the standpoint of, if you're on the field and you play well, is anybody taking you off? I will say, and Vic, as people know, he generally doesn't bullshit you. And he said, and I was the one who asked him the question about, what happens? Is Trotter playing Mike? Is Zach Bond playing Will? Or is Zach Bond going to have to play Mike and Trotter plays Will without Nakobe? And, Vic basically said Zach can play either spot as he did last year when Nakobe got hurt. And he compared him with Cooper. Wherever we need him the most, that's what's best for the team, which will be determined by the next guy. So it's determined. Like Cooper, everybody says, where's Cooper going to play? Well, that's up to Ringo and Jackson and Sidney and Makuba. And he'll fit in where he feels he needs the help. Same thing with Zach Bond. If Campbell is in the equation, he's definitely playing Mike, Zach Bond. Trotter could be either way. But he also said, and I think that's where a lot of people buried, when Nakobe comes back, he's the middle linebacker. Which he doesn't lie. Now, that doesn't mean things can't change if Trotter turns into Zach Bond last year, or
unlikely
Jahad Campbell turns into Zach. Well, then maybe a turn. But in his mind, when Nakobe Dean comes back, he's the middle linebacker. In his mind, is the one that matters.
Is there a scenario where you see him getting an extension?
No.
Really?
No, because they just drafted. It becomes a business. It's more business.
Campbell, thing. Munden, Trotter. I mean, it's just too many guys.
I don't think it's about Munden and Trotter. I mean, but Trotter can change that. I don't think it's about those guys. I think it's about Campbell. You don't take somebody where they took him to not play him. So again, but it could shift from the standpoint of maybe he's just an edge rusher. There's a lot of unquestioned. Like right now, they're trying to make him into this all-encompassing defensive weapon, Jahad Campbell. And maybe at some point they say, and when I say no, 90%, I would say Nakobe's not going to be back in 2026. But that leaves 10%. And the 10% is, all right, you know what? He's our best linebacker. Jahad's better as an edge rusher. That's the path. Because then you have a different philosophy. But even then, you're going to have to pay two linebackers over $10 million. Would they do that? Very unlikely scenario. Because that means Nakobe's proven he's healthy, played at a high level. Other teams probably be willing to pay him more. He'd be 25. So I would say it's very unlikely. Unfortunately, because he's a big part of the team's success last year. As you mentioned, great dude. Leader, legitimate leader, which I think is more important now without Brandon and Slay. But the injuries have complicated things.
No doubt about it. The only spot, John, I could see him coming back is if he is on the open market and nobody's giving him a deal and he's forced to take a cheap prove-it deal. And maybe then it makes most sense for him to return to Philly.
Well, I don't think that would happen because I think he would take it elsewhere to get more playing time because in that position, right. Campbell and Bond are playing. So I don't think there's a large avenue of him being able to come back. And it's on right, here's the interesting conversation. If he doesn't get hurt and plays through the Super Bowl, is Jahad Campbell even here? I would argue probably not.
Well, who else would they have drafted?
They would have. I mean, there's plenty of players. There's plenty of needs.
I mean, they were at the bottom of the first, though. I felt like he was the guy that fell to him. I'm not sure if they walked into that night expecting to draft Jihad anyway.
Yeah, they did. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they were trying to trade up to 22 to get him. But they were trying to trade up to 22 to get him because Jacoby got hurt.
Or because he was the guy they had with a first-round grade who was falling down the board.
Well, that factored into it as well. But I'm saying if you don't have a concern at linebacker and he finished out the year he had, like, I don't even think you're thinking about linebacker. And then you have Trotter and down the road with London, you I'm not saying you're not going to draft one on day 3. I'm talking at the top of the draft. So, just some of the guys that were still on the board. And Josh Simmons went next. And obviously they're not going to. Yeah, nobody. Well, why would they take a tackle? Well, you move them inside the guard, that type of thing. That's what they were going to do the year prior. And I don't know if they like Josh, but I think the injury changes their whole philosophy. Is my point. Maybe TJ Sanders is here. I don't think if he doesn't get hurt, I don't think they're thinking about a linebacker. Maybe Nick Scorton's here as an edge rusher. It's a bunch of guys they looked at. If he didn't get hurt, I think their whole philosophy changes.
So it's bleak for a future of Nakobe Dean.
Well, I don't think it's bleak for his future.
I mean,
in
Philly,
for his future here.
Yeah, 365. I'm talking about in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah, probably this is his last season. I heavily bet on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree with you. We'll see if he gets out there. I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. I do think he played amazing last year, which is pretty good. I mean, he was a 3rd-round pick, and obviously took him a little bit to get back on the field. But when he did get on the field, he was damn good. And it's never easy to move on from a good player like that. So we'll see what they end up doing. But, yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, it's it's just kind of the nature of the beast with Nakobe Dean right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's football, unfortunately. And that was his 3rd season. And you heard Vic say, he didn't even play really his first 2 seasons. Played 4 games. I think he started 4 games in 2023 before the Lidsprack. Well, he's in, he was out, and then it was ultimately a Lidsprack injury. So he was, everybody was Devin White this, Devin White that last year. It's quick how many people forget. But behind the scenes, it was like, here comes Nakobe.
Right.
So be careful. Hey, training camp. That's a be careful training camp. You don't have to trust me, but if you trust somebody, and there's certain guys you can trust, don't trust the guy who looks at the first rep and turns it off and say, all right, he's got the first rep. And meanwhile, the guy behind him's getting many more first-team reps, which is more important. You got to pay attention to shit like that.
Yeah, well, no doubt. We'll see. How about the leadership aspect of it? I mean, we talk about these Georgia boys. They've really created this, group, but also a leadership. I mean, we talk about Jordan Davis as a leader. Nakobe Dean has become a leader. Jalen Carter's obviously probably the best player on that defensive side of the ball. Does that have any impact on it, losing that leadership from Nakobe?
A little bit. On field more than, he's the on-field leader. He's but they won the Super Bowl without him. I mean, you got a bunch of good players. You persevere. And Zach can do it. And he proved he can do it. But do you want Zach to do it? Because you can do a lot more if he's not bogged down by making sure everybody's in the right position and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, he had a great season, but that's part of it as well because, you have all these. One of the things I started to hate last year was, well, the Eagles win with so-and-so because they won with everybody. They won 16 of 17 games. So they won with Oren Burks. Well, yeah, but do you want to play 18 games? Well, in their case, 21 games with Oren Burks? Probably not. I would argue back in the Super Bowl 52 days. Well, Nick won the Super Bowl. You really want to play 20 games with Nick Foles as your starting quarterback? No, a lot of people do. You're laughing, but a lot of people do and still think so today. That whole, they won with Felix Hunt. I mean, they won with everybody. They didn't lose.
I know. Not really a good example to use here. Rich checks in. Rich, what's up, brother? He says, how many seasons Vic have left, you think? It's funny, Rich. I have that written on my book right here. Ask John. How long will Fangio be here? It's a good question. I don't know. He's 60. What is he, 67 or something?
I think he's 65.
Vic Fangio age. He's
66.
66. He'll turn 67 next month or in August.
I think it's
Andy Reid's age.
Typically, he loves it. So typically it's out of their control. Typically it's a health issue at that, at some point.
Right.
Obviously he's still sharp. He can still perform the job. So, he says pretty consistently, and I believe him, this is his last stop. He's not going anywhere else. So you don't have to worry about the typical, like on the offense, the constant churn. It's always young guys looking for career advancement, and rightfully so. That's what the industry is. With Vic, they don't have to worry about that. So, I mean, generally he'll go as long as his body will let him, I would think. But I mean, nobody can predict that.
Yeah.
Right now he's healthy and ready to go. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah. It's been fun. Been a good year with Vic Fangio last year, obviously, with the way it ended. Let's see what he can do now with some changes on the defensive side of the ball. Johnny Mac, we just got a couple of minutes left to go here on the show. A great show today, though. Jalen Hunt talk, Ty Robinson talk, and a Kobe Dean talk, John. A lot of domination from the defensive side of the ball on the topics this offseason, which makes sense. Obviously, makes a lot of sense. But there you go. Our day was dominated by Jalen Hunt, Ty Robinson, and the Kobe Dean today. And just got a couple of minutes left to play now.
Yeah, and BJ Edgecombe. So we got you started with the draft. I was a little bit late, so I apologize for that. But, we gave the Trolls a little chance to get their shots in. So we got that part of it. We got some young players, and that's going to be the story of the defense. The young players, who steps up, who doesn't step up. And, probably some, history tells us, will be a little bit better than maybe people expect, and some will be worse than people expect. And that's generally, it doesn't all go in one direction. Last year it went in one direction for the most part, except for Bryce Huff. Everybody else, boy, you start thinking about that, can that happen? For the entrenched players, like you say, can Zach Ball? We've mentioned that. Can Zach Ball possibly play as well as he did last season? I don't know. Jalen Carter, there's the one guy I say, yeah, he's probably going to get better. Boy, the Kobe Dean, if he comes back. A lot of questions on that defensive side of the football. Mike Gill brought that up. He's right. A lot of things can go wrong. But in Vic we trust.
Yeah, in Vic we trust, no doubt about it. John, tomorrow we will do that top 10 Eagles that you covered. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a good list, despite your hatred for list. I think that's actually a good one.
Yeah, well, and if people don't like the list, guess what? You can go to the next list.
I don't know how many we'll have here on Birds 365, but there you go. We'll have that tomorrow. So, John, give John some time to prep. John, that's your homework tonight. I got to figure out who are the top 10 Eagles I covered here up close and personal since I've been here in Philly. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. Your final thoughts on this Thursday. Already Thursday, man. Already Thursday. Your final thoughts on this Thursday edition of Birds 365.
Nate Gary will not be on the list.
No.
Will not be on the list, although people shit on that guy too much, which I tell that story all the time. But BJ, I'll end it where I started it, which will be Sixers basketball. I think they made the right decision, which is rare when I say that. Doesn't mean it's great. Unfortunately, there's probably two players you wanted, and they're picking third. So they did the best with the cards that they were dealt. I wanted no part of Ace Bailey after what he and his camp tried to pull off. And I think people should learn something from the Eagles. Chemistry matters. People wanting to play for your organization matters. And if you got somebody who doesn't want to play for you, A, fix your organization, and B, don't bring them in until you fix your organization.
Tomorrow on a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 to close out the week. Well done, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us here on Birds 365. Great show today. Appreciate our super chats. Appreciate all the people in the chat right now. Hit that like button for us. I just dropped my phone. Let me get that. Give me a sec. Fuck things down under the table now. Ah, shit. Sorry about that. Hope everybody had a great day or is having a great day. It's early here on a Thursday. The week is flying by. I can't believe it's already Thursday. It's my last day here down in my out of my studio. So I'll be back to the studio for tomorrow morning's Birds 365. Should be a good one there. And then we're 25 days away from camp starting tomorrow. That goofy thing in Ocean, or what is it, Seattle or Ocean Sac, goofy ass thing yesterday. It was yesterday. I know it's a good cause. It's for a good cause, which is great. But boy, I'll tell you what, that's not my cup of tea. You know, I'm down here in Cape May. People are like, why wouldn't you go? I'm like, huh? I'm going to go to a bar so I can see Kelsey rip his pants off. I don't give a shit about Kelsey ripping his pants off. It's fucking weird. Sorry, Kelsey. I love you. I appreciate what you did for the team, but that's weird. I'm good on that. I'm good on that front. Can't wait for him to crash out. I don't know who you're talking about. Pickens. Gary was awful. Good Lord. Keith, you and me both, brother. You and me both. I don't know what's going on there, my friend. Chris Scott says a lot of good things can go right as well. Well, that's always true. And there's Izzy B with the Diddy comment. There's the Diddy comment from Izzy B. Instead of Izzy, she's now Dizzy. Dizzy B. She's dizzy now. Izzy becomes dizzy. I mean, come on. Yeah, Chris. I mean, me too, man. I mean, I don't know what's going on with this. I'm not going to a bar to watch Kelsey drink beer. Like, I don't like beer. 2, I don't drink at all. 3, that scene is just, I mean, you guys, you see me, you know me, you listen to me. I don't go to bars. I hate bars. I despise bars. If I'm at a bar, I'm not a happy person. I don't drink. I hate bars. I hate the scene. I hate the way that the people converse. It's all fake to me. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea, guys. Teach their own. I don't judge people. I'm just saying. It's not my scene. I wouldn't be there. All right. Keith, bro. Not me, man. It's not me. What about a lounge? And there's Dank, bro. I don't even know what you mean by that, dude. Oh, Abe, it's just disturbing, dude. I mean, it reminds me of my least favorite part of even college. Like, I hated bars in college. It's nasty. Everyone spill. Oh, Abe. Abe is bringing up all the worst parts of the bar. Couple that in with some bullshit fake conversation of everybody, acting like they're best friends and then they leave. Couple that all together and you have a recipe that I don't like. All right. Yeah, mess up your shoes. I don't drink, so it's just not, a fancier bar, I guess, would be better because it's a little bit upper echelon, but Izzy B, you're no longer being addressed today. All right. You're no longer being addressed today. All right, everybody. Great show today. It was fun doing it. Fun Birds 365. It flew by. I mean, we had no guests today because it's hard. Everybody's away, vacation. Nobody really can join. Or I think it's nobody wants to join. I mean, who wants to talk about the Eagles on June 26th? Other than me and Cilio. Other than me and Cilio, everybody's a flake. But I got some options. We got some more people coming up. We'll have more guests. By the way, I loved Oscar Budajin last week. I hope you guys enjoyed that too, because I enjoyed that. I enjoyed having him on. Z, have a great day. Thank you, brother. Izzy B, no clown faces from you. Brian Pump says, where's Dank at? Who the F is Hanson Yang? Like you said, Xander, the Sixers messed up. Yeah, Pump. Johnny Mack said that the Sixers made the right move. Now, Pump, I happen to fall with you on this where, again, I don't know much, so I don't want to, I don't know what VJ Edgecombe is going to be, but it doesn't wow me. I'll tell you that much. Doesn't wow me. Keep grinding, Tanner. I like that comment. Big Mike, thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. You and me both, Chris Scott. I can talk Eagles 365. That's why we're here. I could discuss the Eagles 366 on a leap year. There you go. Z, do you think we can get Michael Lombardi on Silshaw? I think we've had Lombardi. Let me look that up, Kimberly. I thought we had Lombardi. By the way, let me pull my last segment. Just give me 1 sec. I thought we had Lombardi. Did we not? I thought we had Lombardi before, Kimberly. Or did we not? Let me get this final segment. Let me look it up. Lombardi. Yeah, we had him. We had Mike Lombardi. Oh, we had him on he was on Cilio before. Mike Lombardi was on Cilio way back when. He was on Cilio. When was this? When was this video posted? This was when Cilio was only doing a 2-hour show. This was June 11th, 2021. June 11th, 2021, Mike Lombardi joined Cilio. Yep, there he is. And he joined This Week in Pro Football, our Thursday night show during the seasons. So he joined our Thursday night show during the season. So we've had him on. But I'll try and get him, Kim. I don't hate that. It's not bad. Chris Scott, I'd love to meet you too, man. I'd love to meet you too. I met a bunch of our great people at the parade. I've met a couple of people. I had one dude, speaking of bars. All right, Keith, you'll like this. Speaking of bars, okay? Much to my chagrin, much to not my decision. See, I'm the type of dude, I control the decisions in my life. I control my life, okay? My life, I control it. I know where I'm going. There for the very few instances where I cannot do that, all right? Which I guess is just how life goes sometimes. I was at a bar in Strathmere a couple of weeks ago with my girlfriend's family. And I don't know if he's in here. Some dude walked up to me and I was actually wearing this hat. I was wearing this exact JAKIB hat. And he walked up to me and he's like, yo, I love JAKIB Sports. I love your show, man. I'm a big fan of you and Johnny Mack. And I'm like, that was dope. So maybe there you go. That was a little a bonus of being at a bar, I guess you could say. Chris Scott, I'd love to meet you too, though. Thank you for the comment. I do appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. Not a bar. Yeah, bro. Not a bar. Izzy Bay, no, we're not. It's really not happening. I got zero interest. I got less than zero interest in that. Rome says, what up, Rome? Did you break down the Jalen versus Lamar debate? What's there to debate? Lamar's got a bunch of talent and can't get the job done when the lights get bright. And Jalen Hurts, who people say is less talented, continues to perform when the lights get bright and the team needs him to perform. I mean, Jalen versus Lamar is a funny thing. I understand Lamar. I mean, Lamar is one of the most talented quarterbacks maybe to ever play in the NFL. I don't say that lightly. I really think he has insane athleticism, talent. I mean, you don't see guys run the way he runs, play the way he plays. He's unbelievable. But I'm a fan of the Eagles. I'm not here to analyze the game from a perspective of you're more talented than Jalen, so I'm taking you. I want to win. I think most fans want to win. Most players want to win. Most team personnel wants to win. Who's done a better job at winning when the lights get bright? It's clearly Jalen Hurts. So I don't know what the debate you're talking about is. Did somebody do this debate somewhere? I didn't see it, Rome. If you let me know, I'll discuss on it. I'll opine on it. But I think Lamar is an immensely talented player that's come up short and has had multiple turnovers in multiple playoff games. Meanwhile, the two greatest games of Jalen Hurts' life came in Super Bowls. I mean, some people don't put a price tag on that. They care about the talent. Well, forget about the team success. I'm talking about the talent of the player. Well, I don't give a shit about that. How about that? You don't care about the success. I don't care as much about the talent. I care about everything put together. Jalen, when you put everything put together, I don't see how people criticize the guy. I don't see how people criticize the guy. And I've been one to criticize him in the past. Fucking Jalen has his two best games in the Super Bowl. What do you want? The guy that has talent that throws for 5K, gets to the playoffs and becomes a trash can? That's Dak Prescott. Lamar's a super Dak. Jalen wins when we need him to win, man. What? You're an Eagles fan. Take Jalen out. Take Lamar out. Take all the players out of the equation for a second. You're an Eagles fan. What do you want your quarterback to do for the team? You just got a new quarterback. Insert any name. What do you want him to accomplish? You want him to throw for 4K? Is that what we want? I don't fucking care about that. What does that get me? What does that get me? I want the dude who plays the best when the team needs him to play the best so that we have parades on Broad Street. That's what I want. That is what I want. Jalen has gotten us to that point and closer to that point in 2 of 3 years, closer than any other quarterback in the history of the damn team. Results speak for themselves. I don't really give a shit about my opinion on Jalen Hurts. It doesn't matter. The results outweigh my opinion. I'm not so self-righteous to believe that my opinion on a player matters more than what the players produced at the NFL level. I mean, guys, we've been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 freaking years. 2 of the last 3 years, we are talking about playing in February. We go to Radio Row on the Super Bowl. The entire NFL media talks about our team. 2 of 3 years. We went once with McNabb in how many years? I mean, I don't know. Jalen the conversation on Jalen Hurts as it evolves will be very interesting to see, because it's gotten to a point where you can no longer discredit him. And people still are. He doesn't have the inherent talent. He's not a top 5 or a top 10 guy. Good. Take your list, chew on it, and go your way. I want the team to have celebrations on Broad Street. That's what I want. That's what I want my quarterback to bring to the team. A lot more than I want passing yards, a lot more than I want to say, wow, he's 6'6" and has a huge arm. Holy shit. I don't care about that. Doesn't matter. Doesn't get us what we want. We had that with Carson Wentz. We've had that before with McNabb. We've had that. Give me this dude The dude who you can't quite figure out how he's so good. You can't quite figure out why he's so good, but there's just an it factor about him that when the moment comes and when push comes to shove, he wins. He does what he needs to do to win the football game. All right, everybody. I love you all. I love you all. I hope you guys have a freaking great day. All right. I got some traveling to do today. I'm packing up. I'm already packed up, but I got to clean up. I got to clean up the house. We got renters coming Saturday. So I'm on renter duty in terms of getting the house in order, cleaning it up, making sure everything is good. So I'm doing that. I'm handling all that today. I'll be a garage man today. I'll be out there getting things. I got to load the bikes and probably bring home my nice bike. So I'm getting that out of here. And I'll be back to the studio. Back to the studio. All right, so I'm looking forward to that. Appreciate all of you guys for being here today. Hit that like button for me. I know we're slacking a little bit. It's off season. We got people trickling back in. We'll have more and more people trickling back in, which is fun. So I appreciate you all for being here. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time on Birds 365. Thank all of you for your support of JAKIB Sports and of this show. I appreciate it very much.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.